everything came before. There she was behind that door. She hit him with a 10-cent pistol, 'cause they ruined her name. Well, she hit them with a 10-cent pistol, 'cause they'd never been the same. There's nothing worse in this world than payback from a jealous girl. Laws of man, they don't apply when blood gets in a woman's eye. She hit them with a 10-cent pistol, 'cause they run and ruin her name. Well, she hit them with a 10-cent pistol, and they've never been the same.
Is it me yet? You know, the Dutch Hall, we're a little bit of a off the beaten path program to begin with. But tonight we decided to do something a little bit crazy. We decided to go back to our roots, back to the wheel. I wish I mic'd it. The wheel of conspiracy tonight. We have in some of the great. There it is.
We got some good guests, don't we?
Oh yeah. Guests that have seen things, guests that have been places, guests that have opened their eyes to things that maybe people out there haven't seen before. So I suggest people out there, if you've never tried a psychedelic drug, tonight you might want to give it a shot.
Now's the time.
Listen to a bunch of guys from Norfolk County talk about some crazy shit for an hour or so.
See where that takes you.
But there's only one way to do it.
How's that, Peter?
I conspire to play a theme song.
Oh.
Everybody to Live from the Dutch Hall.
Oh, yeah.
We are Canada's only late night talk show and the greatest podcast ever to come out of a pool shed in Pine Grove, Ontario. Bar none.
No question there.
And I believe we are that way because we have the greatest band in Canadian late night history.
Goddamn right.
The Nocturnal Emissions.
Yay.
Comprised this week of an all-star cast. Our band leader, Michael Bow, on vocals and rhythm guitar.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Beside him, taking this place at the German this week.
Different looking Steve.
Yes, is Dylan Cunningham. You might recognize him, folks. No nickname yet.
Making love to the guitar.
The balls of the Nocturnal Emission this week is played by the man that writes the music for the show. He's wearing some short pants and showing some balls. This is Dave, the Rooster Charters, everyone. And tickling the skins is our CRTC required Frenchman. The French tickler Kev Belanger is back.
Kevy! Yeah. Tickle it up. Tickle it up.
And our guests tonight are two longtime favorites. If you listen to our program, you've listened to both of these guys on multiple programs. They're two of our favorites. Comedians Tyler Shazma and Brandon MacIntosh are here, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, we love having you. And there's only one last guy to.
Who's that?
There's only one last guy to introduce. My announcer's not here.
No, he's not.
No, so I got to do it myself.
Old school.
It's me, the host of this program, Two-Time President's Club Award winner, Pete Van Dyke, everyone.
Yeah.
There we go. That was beautiful.
Start, boys.
That was nice. It was fun, right, Dave?
Oh, real fun.
You seem a little off kilter today, but did it loosen you up a little bit
Yeah,
to just
that was
sing
a nice
sing
jam
song?
there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sometimes you got to unwind from the days of being master of industry when you're just, having the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Oh, yeah. You know what I had today was a real early morning.
Ooh.
Yeah. Up and at 'em, My dad would say, up and at 'em.
Is that what he would say,
Yeah,
Jimmy
that's what
boy?
he'd say, yeah.
That's what
when I
Jim would
was a
say.
kid.
He'd say up and at 'em.
Up and at 'em.
Yeah.
That's what I had today. Real early.
You were at 'em.
I was at 'em, 3:45 a.m.
Yowzas.
3:45. You were
Yeah.
awake.
The crack of crow piss. Yeah.
And what time do you wake up for tomorrow's thing?
I
Same
don't
time?
know. No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think that's in the cards for tomorrow.
because you're like you're not like a truck driver. Like they have to get sleep, but you're just like some sort of like mastermind of. You're basically what this whole show is about. Like, most of the people that are writing conspiracy theories are writing about guys like you. How could a blockhead Polish guy achieve such a massive success
Yeah, it's
without
amazing,
there being
isn't it?
some sort of an Illuminati behind it? Like, he must be a lizard person in order to make this happen, right? That's what I believe. Anyways, we're gonna find out more of that today. We crafted what is behind me. I don't know if you can see it, Chaz. Can we get a shot of the wheel?
Wheel.
The wheel. What a nice wheel. I'm gonna have to take this mic off the stand. There we go, Chaz. Oh, come on, microphone. Oh, right in the jaw. Right in the kisser. This time we have crafted a wheel, the wheel of conspiracy, and on it we have put almost every conspiracy in the world. We've gotten the help of a lot with Steve the Reluctant German, who is not here. Conspiracy number one.
Yeah, he's disappointed.
Yes.
Where is he?
Oh, well, this is just convenient. A German, the only German that we know on this program, has mysteriously taken off to South America. Ooh, who else has done that? Adolf Hitler. Have you heard of that? Yeah? Yeah. You ever heard of Joseph Mengele? Is it Magdala? Mengele?
Sure.
The Mengele twins. You ever hear of that German? He wanted to make more Germans, so he loved twins. He thought if there was more Germans fucking. Mengele?
Joseph Mangel.
He had a thing
I
for
think you have
twins? Or he
Yeah.
was a twin?
No, he wanted there to be more twins because you make more Germans that way. If Germans had twins, then you make more Germans.
He's a
you know?
numbers guy.
The breeding.
So he would go to places where they made lots of twins. There's a place in South America. Yeah. I think it's pronounced Mengele. The Germans I don't know. I think that ends with la.
Steve would know.
And Steve would know. And that's what he's doing right now. Some sort of sick German research down there in the South, filming them breaking little kids' knees and shit. Remember he did that in Central America. It wasn't enough for him. Now he has to go South America.
Deeper.
Fuck off. Yeah, go deeper. Fuck up their kids. Enjoy yourself, Steve. But we'll be happy to have him back.
Crazy German bastard.
He's a good guy after
Yeah,
all
he's
this.
a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Hey, Steve, me and Dylan are going to have our shot.
Oh, yeah, we should have our shot. This is courtesy of...
That's for you, Steve.
I think this is my first shot on the show.
Yeah,
All right.
cheers to everybody. We're having a shot courtesy of Sean Dahlster, superfan.
That one's for you, Steven.
Oh, it's a smooth one.
Cool.
Until it'll bite me. I'm going to keep talking through it. So,
Whoa.
That's good
yeah.
for the larynx.
No, it's not bad.
No, not bad. Nice whiskey.
Uh oh.
That's why.
Likewise, I don't fucking do it either. But
It's the burp after, eh?
Well
we're
done,
here.
though,
We're
boys.
here
You both
for.
did it.
I'm here for my third podcast, so I got to do it. That's my first shot.
Oh, really? Your first two, you
My
didn't
first
didn't
shot
participate?
on the podcast.
That was
No,
your welcome shot.
I usually take it and go,
Sip.
thank you,
Yeah.
and just
I
kind
ain't
of
gonna
sip
be a
it and put it
no-man
away.
about
So you're starting to get a bit more comfortable here, eh? In the Dutch Hall. First
I-
time you were a guest,
Yeah,
eyes open, new, right?
scared.
Yeah. just a little baby,
Like a little baby
like
lamb.
a bird leaving the nest, right?
Right?
Hiding behind the drum kit.
Yeah, my legs were all shaking.
Yeah.
Trying to stand up on my own. Yeah, behind the drum kit.
Second time you come in, a little bit more sure of yourself,
A little
right?
loose.
You understand you've been here before. Now, asked to sit in the chair of the reluctant German.
The middle chair.
And I
The
don't
middle
know if
chair.
I'm ever going to get up. I farted in this chair like 14 times
Yeah.
by now. So
Yeah, that chair is disgusting. Yeah,
it's the German.
I would never sit in it. Yeah.
It's the German dropping gas in the
Yeah.
chair.
Luckily, he's always wearing lots of layers when he's in that chair. I'd be
Yes.
surprised if any German gas got through all those layers.
Oh yeah.
He's always wearing like a winter hat.
There's a lot of
Like,
layers.
He's always sweating.
Yeah, all his gas gets trapped. It will come out of his sock, like his laces of his shoes or something, right? Like it would have to go all the way down his pant leg
He calls
into
it
his
his
sock.
chamber.
Huh?
His gas chamber.
His
he
gas
might
chamber,
call it.
yeah. Until it just leaks out of his laces. Those sick Germans, I don't know. Anyways, that's a whole nother conspiracy. We have a bunch on the wheel tonight. It's a whole bunch because I asked everybody and they started saying things. You started saying, like, people started sending messages about stuff I didn't know, I never heard of. I had to research it. So I spent an entire day today researching conspiracy theories. And when you do that, it messes with your mind, eh? Like it really screws you up because you start to question everything of how much is bullshit. Because there's
Did it make sense, some of the stuff you were reading
Huh?
to you? Like, did it make sense? Like, were you starting to believe it? Is that what you mean?
well, no. What the thing is that certain things with conspiracies are like a conspiracy is just when two or more people plan to do something, right? So like there are
They
legitimate
conspire.
conspiracies, you know, like there's certain things that are legitimate. That are just people are trying to do something, and so people say that's a conspiracy. Yes, it is. That's no question, right? So, but then they put in crazy shit amongst it, and then you have to. Then it discredits the other stuff that's real, because then they throw it in the same category. If it sounds fantastic, then they're just saying it's in the category with the World Weekly News shit. You know what I mean? The lizard babies or whatever. and then you have to, and then it discredits anybody that doesn't conform to what is general knowledge. You know, there's certain things I'm saying that they try to discredit because if it sounds crazy, you know.
Like 9/11.
We'll get into it, Dave. We'll get into it. Easy. I see
it on
he's
the
chomping
wheel?
on the bit.
Is it on the
with
wheel?
that one,
Don't blow
eh?
your load, Charters.
Charters,
It's right
Charters,
off the bat.
this wheel has an actual picture of the plane going into the
Oh, look at
into the
that.
towers on it.
It's not too soon.
Yeah, no. It's been enough time
Oh,
past.
definitely.
We can start to use it for
we
the
can make
program.
fun of it,
Ooh,
too.
super close of Pete Van Dyke.
Yeah.
Not- not-
He loves the Zoom.
Did you zoom on a 9/11?
Yeah, it's my favorite feature.
Jeez, that was tough. So, anyways, we want to do it. It's going to take a long time, but before we do that, we'll introduce our guests and then we'll do a segment. And you know what it's called, but I'm not going to say it yet. Our guests tonight, two of our greatest guests we've ever had. I'm going to say it on record. Two of them should have jackets. They've both been one's a huge hit in Italy. One of our Italian people. Every time there's a show with his name on it, there's Italians that want to hear his voice. It's Brandon MacIntosh, and one of the longest time guests. We're a second favorite podcast of his.
No,
And I-
first favorite.
First favorite now. First favorite now.
We've really climbed.
Yes, Tyler Shazma. So Brandon MacIntosh and Tyler Shazma. Everyone, let's hear it for him.
Yeah. Always love coming here.
Happy
This is like
to
my
be here.
5th time here, I think now.
Really?
5th or 6th time, yeah.
That would be a jacket-worthy occasion. Yeah.
No, where's my jacket?
Yeah, we don't have it. I'll get.
Shaz doesn't have one yet.
Shaz doesn't have it
I've
either.
been here, like,
They're all
26
missing, aren't
times.
they?
Shaz
The
is
most we can
number one.
promise you is
Down
some
the row.
cheap merch out of our cabinet. It's all what you get free in a case of beer.
I'll take
sweet.
it.
I got a pair of pliers and a hammer last time.
That was a pretty good one. That was a clean
That
flip
was a
right
good
there.
Stole that out of his garage, didn't you?
Yeah. So we you guys this was Brandon's idea, right?
Yeah.
This whole show was your
We
idea.
were talking about this at a show. We should do a whole thing about conspiracies and the paranormal and all that shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are.
And
We made a whole fucking wheel for it. It's amazing.
but even your in your stand up,
Yeah.
you sometimes will allude to stories where you have dealt with things that are of the other
UFOs,
world.
Ghosts, those sorts of things. Yeah.
Goats?
It's all Brandon. He's convinced me of all of this.
Yeah, I just convince him. He's
So Tyler, you're like a doubting Thomas.
I don't.
He's
I
just
don't, I
open.
don't doubt. I'm open to anything. Yeah, if
I
you want to
just-
tell me that elves live inside your kneecaps, I'll believe it. Charters.
It's not something I've said.
Once you've looked at it as closely as Shaz had on Zoom.
There's got to be something in
Oh,
there.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I've been into conspiracies and all this shit since I've been like a little kid. Like I think it was Fox used to have those like UFO sighting shows. And remember they aired one where they said they had a UFO. It was like the autopsy.
Yeah.
Watching it as
Yeah.
a little kid, like as an adult, you're like, this is fucking stupid. As a kid, I'm just like, this is fucking real.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
The
So
alien
I'm like going to
autopsy.
school with this shit and telling people. I'm like, yeah. I became the weird kid real
The
quick.
90s were a big time for conspiracies and
Oh, yeah.
alien discoveries.
Yeah, the 90s were huge for that. The X-Files.
Oh yeah. Because people
Yeah,
were
yeah.
starting to tune into it because of the X Files, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mulder and Scully.
Men in Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that show
It was
really got
very
me into it.
popularized in the 90s.
You think
That-
that's when it became like? There's always been like people going on about this. I think the fact that the internet came along in the 90s made it like seem bigger.
Oh yeah, especially with Y2K.
Yeah,
That
oh,
was
yeah.
like that was the first conspiracy that came in my spectrum that like I kind of
Oh,
really
even-
became fascinated about. I'm like, why is everyone obsessed with this? What's gonna happen when it's 2000? Like I was terrified. I was at some fucking family event with like everyone around there all having fun. I'm like sitting on the couch like sweating, just like thinking something's actually gonna happen.
The computers weren't ready for it, right? Was
I
that the
know.
big thing?
That was
Yeah.
it. And
It
I'm
was
like,
all the computers were going to crash,
Yeah.
and therefore all the phones would crash.
not
the
ready.
Infrastructure,
all
the
power
planes would
would
go
go
down.
out.
That
Yeah.
fourth,
Because
the
the
fourth
planes couldn't
digit.
get
It's
powered.
2 digits.
Yeah, the fourth digit can't roll to 2 for some reason.
yeah.
No, it was the second digit. It was only 2 digits, so it would be like 99, and then it'd go to
It
0.
rolls to zeros.
Yeah, and then it was
Then
frost
why?
Yeah,
up.
you guys are older than I am. You had better understanding. I was just
Yeah.
like,
They were really. It was. We had a party that night
Yeah,
because
people freaked out about it.
I
of course
thought
you did. It was New Year's.
yeah, it was New Year's. It was awesome. We had a great party. We went to every room of our house and had a different decade, which was a different shot. And then by the time we got to the 80s, we were fucked up. Eh?
That's a good time. That's a
Usually.
great party.
Yeah,
By the
yeah.
80s.
But in 2000, it was fun.
That's a
Oh,
good.
yeah.
I had a disco ball in the 70s.
nothing
Had some gin and
happened.
tonics.
Nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Nothing happened.
My aunt got
Oh,
real
I didn't know
drunk.
something happened.
That's all that really happened.
Yeah, my friend Chad got naked and then we and freaked out my cousin.
Was he
Eh?
naked or did he have a sock on his penis?
Chili pepper style.
He might have a sock on his penis. I don't know, but he was making my cousin Christine uncomfortable, and so he was asked to put some clothes on at that party.
But nothing happened at Y2K.
But other than that, nothing
Real
happened.
letdown.
It's
I
the
saw
year
him
2000 and
in
no
Costco
confusion.
last week.
Did you hear that people that believed it so much actually built bunkers, went underground, and stayed there for almost a
yeah.
decade before reemerging back into life? Yeah.
That long?
Only to find
I
out
thought you
it
were gonna
was
say like a
nothing at
couple
all.
days.
No, they just stayed down there. Just like they were just like
They're just coming
so
out now,
committed.
like, oh shit, you didn't end.
Nothing happened.
It's been 18 fucking years.
It's gotta be embarrassing.
That would be kind of like that would be awesome in a way. Like I always kind of hope the bad thing happens because it seemed like I just think it would be really cool if everything went to shit.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
there's some guy right now just living off of Kool-Aid and fucking
Yeah.
Swanson's fucking TV dinners
Deep
for
in the
10
earth.
years. He's been in the ground for 18 years. Comes out like, oh, you guys still have A&W. Great.
Oh, great.
That was really like just like nothing. Nothing happened at all. Nothing. The lights didn't even flicker. No, nothing at all.
Oh,
But
you're-
We just kept
The year
partying.
2000 was gonna happen, and everything was gonna be over.
And then there was the 2012, the Mayan calendar, which that was the end of the world
that was
too.
a fun one.
Yeah.
I followed that pretty hard too.
Yeah.
I was like,
Were you
something might
convinced about
happen.
that one?
Yeah, my parents were going to Mexico during that time. I'm like, don't go there. That's like,
It's the worst place. That's where it's gonna
center.
start.
That's where they came from. You know, the thing about that one was the Mayans were wrong, right? Because they died way before that.
Well, I think the Mayans just made a calendar that ended.
It resets, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you could just start another calendar.
It doesn't it? And it
Like,
wasn't
you,
that the
you-
whole
you
thing?
go to fucking Shoppers
Yeah.
Drug Mart on January 1st and you buy another fucking calendar.
Yeah, they're just not around. It
Yeah.
They
makes
just didn't
the
have the
calendar.
time to
If
write
you
the
wait
whole
till
one out in
February,
stone.
they're on sale. You can get them real cheap if you wait till February.
Yeah, that's what I usually
Yeah,
do.
they got conquered by the Spaniards.
They
It's not
would
their
have made
fault.
another calendar, but that just took them fucking too long.
Yeah. Well, they were dead already.
Exactly.
They were
Yeah.
also carving them into fucking stones. Let's not
Exactly.
forget.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
You wanna
They
hear
didn't
a
have
good
the
story?
beauty of printing.
They did have some ability to. They did believe they could see through time in different ways through like shamanistic. But they said there's bringers to their civilization that they were able to. That came to their land in like big ships, and they just called them the Quetzalcoatl is one name for them. And they said they came here, and they marked on their calendar when they first came and brought civilization to their land. They built pyramids and all this shit, and like created gods of the sun.
Here he goes.
And they said there's a certain time on the calendar that the gods will return back to their land, and like just like live again and like give them more knowledge. And that lands exactly the time the Spaniards came over and like conquered the Amazon, because it was the only way that these Spaniards, they only had about maybe 900 soldiers strong, and they conquered a city of over 500,000, because they just like they literally like fell to their knees because they thought the gods were returning, because they're coming off with like
oh, right.
fucking
Prophecy.
armor and horses and shit.
Yeah, these guys look
big
awesome.
beards.
Yeah.
That's exactly how they describe these gods.
It's like Fifth Element shit.
And they just went
like-
in and just mowed them down.
Exactly like when they said it would
So
happen.
just good timing.
Yeah.
What's
Great
cool,
timing.
What's cool about that is however many years BC that was,
Yeah.
the Japanese, another like 14,000 BC, you know, however thousands of years separated they were from the Mayans.
Yeah.
Similar story. Their religion, their entire lifestyle and everything was given to them by the Dogu, which was a exactly similar thing that the Mayans
Yeah.
talk about.
This is something that's on the wheel. That's we might get to that.
The
We'll
Dogu?
expand. No, lost civilizations.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
That-
yeah.
Lost
Just another name.
civilization.
Yeah.
So that's what the
Lost civilization's
Japan
one of my
call it.
Ooh,
The
good.
Dogu.
Good.
The Doku.
Dogu. Yeah.
Dogu. Well, you know what we should do before we go Dogu?
Go
Go.
Goo.
Yeah.
On the thing, we should do a segment we call Feedback. We got feedback.
We got feedback. Feedback! It's motherfucking feedback. Motherfucking feedback, people.
That's how you do it.
Conspiracy feedback.
Conspiracy feedback. Welcome to Feedback. We got feedback, everyone. This week's segment is brought to you by our friends at Amazon. Go to the Live from Dutch Hell's website, livefromdutchhell.com. Click on our Amazon banners, and if you don't see them, it's because your ad blocker's blocking them. So you got to shut that off. Then you do your shopping, and then everything comes to us, and then we get rich. And we walk around, and we just bathe in riches.
Make it rain, if you will.
So far, we've invested mostly in cables, and microphones, and a board. But
The odd bottle of whiskey.
Beer.
when we get done buying that shit, and then we
Gonna be good.
replace it with, because we wreck it, and then we're going to be bathing in riches someday. So keep buying like tweezers and
Like Scrooge McDuck.
toilet paper, whatever. Yeah, Scrooge McDuck. Will you dive right into it?
Fucking right.
I love Scrooge McDuck. You had a good heart, I thought. He just like money
I
diving.
always wondered if it would hurt if you jumped into that many coins.
Probably.
Nah.
Jumping into a pool of toonies.
Mythbusters.
yeah, a whole like
Mythbusters.
vault.
You know what it feels?
Mythbusters,
Come on, Adam.
exactly.
It reminds me of like when I was when we were kids, we would use we didn't buy fertilizer in bulk. We bought fertilizer in bags, and then we would after planting time use so many bags of fertilizer that you'd load up an elephant wagon with fertilizer bags, and you would just stuff
Like the
fertilizer
empties.
bags into a fertilizer bag, and then you would have these like big pillows of fertilizer bags, and you'd load the whole elephant wagon up with them, and then you could climb to the top of the elephant wagon on the ladder. An elephant wagon, for people that don't live in this area, is like a wagon.
It makes no sense why is it called a fucking elephant wagon?
Because you could
Even I
fit an
don't know.
elephant
probably
wagon. It
transport
looks
an
like you could
elephant.
transport two elephants in
why?
it. Yeah, because it looks like you could
Jesus
go
Christ.
put one elephant in the front, and then
Yeah,
you put
another one in.
close the door, and then you
Makes
put
sense.
another elephant in. And what those, instead of an elephant, you would put a flat, and you would just pile tobacco on it until the tobacco became a huge pile the size of an elephant, and then and you would then take out that with a fork pallet and ramp it off the trailer when you wanted to sort it,
Right.
which they called stripping. because it was
Also
sexy.
also confusing.
And yeah, the words were wrong. I was like, yeah, my wife, she likes to make a little extra money in the summertime when she's not at school. She does some hoeing and she works in the strip room. And then they're like, what? And then
Yeah, it's pretty good pay.
and I says, pardon? Anyways, yeah, it sounds like prostitute-y.
And all I can do is drive boat.
There you go.
Yeah,
Good job. Easy job.
Yeah. Anyways, the elephant wagon was loaded with this big wagon was loaded with fertilizer bags, and you climb a ladder to the top and then jump like
Right down,
Superfly
Macho Man?
Snuka,
Snuka.
Jimmy.
into the fertilizer bags, and but sometimes I just pretend I was Scrooge McDuck, you know.
I wondered where that was going. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, sometimes it's the same thing, just going through the fertilizer bags like Scrooge McDuck. Anyways, it's also brought to you by our friends at Norpac.
The beef people.
Paul's not here because he usually says when I say Norpac.
Beef people.
Paul had a great piece of feedback this week too. It was the guy from that was in here with the Jesse Murphy trio, Eric. He had his dad had listened or watched on YouTube, I think. And when Paul was in visiting Eric, Eric said his dad, I think his dad's like in Montreal or something, or like Quebec or something. He said that the show was unprofessional, and that needs more music, and you can't smoke and drink on a show and pretend it's professional.
Sure you can.
And it needs more music. And what else did he say? Oh, don't say cunt so much. You can't.
That was Eric's dad who said that?
Yeah.
No
that's,
shit.
That's what Eric couldn't wait to tell Paul. Yeah. He was like taking such pleasure in it.
Those French people, man. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, dude.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I love getting feedback like that. Because the show, to be honest with you, is not for everyone. This program. It's not for everyone. It's a slice of the population that enjoy this program.
Thin slice.
And yeah, if you're not in that thin slice,
It's the worst thing you've ever heard.
yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep saying cunt.
It happens.
Sorry, it pops out once in a while. I just like it. It's funny. They're taking everything from us, eh? I'm just gonna hang on to that. The Illuminati and bullshit. They already took some
Yeah.
of our favorite words away, like
Said he was taking it away.
actually, I don't like any of the words they took away. See, they got to me.
They're winning.
What do I miss that I can't say anymore?
Midget.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one.
It's simple. You know what you're talking about. They
Not only
prefer
that-
dwarf over midget.
I thought
Dwarf
it was
is from the fucking Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Yes, but you know what? They're two separate things. I like to stress this because we have little people that listen to our program, and dwarves
hate me.
dwarfs are a type of little person, and midget is a type of little person, right?
Yes.
But a midget is proportionally correct in every way, like a little person, like an actual proportionally correct little person. This grows to a little bit high. There's a guy, but it's a pituitary gland problem that they fixed like way in the 50s. Those people don't exist anymore, except for in shithole countries, right?
Yeah.
Where they haven't figured it out. You can just give them whatever they're lacking, and they'll grow into a regular sized human. But so that you find one in like some third world country like
South America.
and then they put him in and play in every Oompa Loompa in the new Willy Wonka movie. That Deep Roy guy.
Yeah.
He's a real midget, I think. He's proportionally correct in every way, but a little man, right? Where dwarves have like stumpier limbs, large torso,
And then the normal size head, which always freaks me out.
and then a proportionally large head.
What
yeah.
was Mini Me?
He was a dwarf,
He was a
right?
RIP.
Yeah,
Respect
he wasn't.
him.
He wasn't proportionally correct in every way.
I guess not.
You didn't think that, did you? Vote Mini Me.
No. I
Was
guess
he in
not.
our pool, by the way?
No, but that would have been a good pick.
I did. I can't believe he wasn't in it.
No, he was not. I don't think he was.
Yeah, he was on that celebrity rehab, and they gave him like a thimble full of booze, and
Yeah,
then he ended
booze
up,
killed him, right? It was booze that killed him.
was it booze that killed him?
Yeah, booze killed him.
That's sad.
That's a good category to keep in mind for next year, though.
That is sad.
The midgets with drinking problems.
I'll be doing some research.
Yeah, the Haitian dwarf has been AWOL, man. Somebody
I know.
could have put him in the pool.
Yeah, last seen in Brantford outside of Amsterdam.
Oh wow.
Yeah, kicking a garbage can, throwing
Throwing
his
a
coat at
jacket.
me.
That's where the Haitian dwarf hangs out.
Yeah, did you
I
guys?
didn't
That's
see
not
him.
surprising at all.
You guys were both there that night. You guys were both there that
I
night.
left before your set.
No, I know, but you saw that guy. He was going through the bar with his fidget spinners in his hand, the black guy, and he was
Oh,
just
I
like
saw that guy.
he was doing the robot.
Did you
and
say
stuff.
fidget spinners?
Yeah, he had one in each hand. He was spinning them like this and,
Yeah, I
and
saw
doing
that
the
guy.
robot.
He tried to hug fucking Steve. He
Yeah.
was trying to hug Steve the Brooklyn German.
Yeah, and then when we were leaving, Steve said something to him like, "Hey, you didn't think I'd go up on stage? Eh? You thought I was lying because the guy was telling me he was full of shit because Steve did the one number at the end for me." And then he got pissed off, I think. But Steve didn't think that at all. Steve thought he was mad at me for some reason. But then he went and started karate kicking the garbage can, and then we just thought nothing of it. Kept loading the guitars in the car, and then he comes and takes his coat off and whips it at us, eh? And then into the street, into like Colburn Street, a busy street in Brantford, right? But it was a great like psycho experience. I kept saying to like Steve, like, let's just get in our vehicle and get the fuck out of here. You know?
How many times do you have to say that when you leave Brantford? Eh?
Every time I fucking play in there, man, there's something going on. I saw a guy get his cheek bit off outside the
wow.
bar.
Bath
Yeah.
salts.
Isn't that the
Bath salts. That's exactly what it was. Yeah,
Isn't
he
that
must
cra-
have been.
crazy the type of places you have to play just to find an audience? You know,
Just to make a little bit of money.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Uh,
Anyways, who else we got? Van Dyke Party Services. Yeah, what are we getting into this time of year? We're Jesus. You want to open your pool?
What is it? It's May.
Ah, spring.
Yeah, pool.
Yeah, spring.
Pool opening party. It's spring.
Yeah, you want to open your pool? That job sucks. You ever take your cover off there and then you see like a bunch of dead things in there, like
Get
things
your
that
pool on
died?
That is
Get
the
the pool
worst.
scoop.
Yeah. Bring your friends over to work the net.
Fish out the algae.
Yes, what you. I watched the conspiracy theory fucking video. I should have sent it to you. All Dutch guy from the University of Amsterdam. Yes, all of this conspiracy is just nonsense. I thought it was like ridiculous the accent we do until you watch a real guy,
Oh, I know.
and then you're like, that guy's really doing
It
that
sounds
shit.
just like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's saying, but it sounds just like that.
Yeah.
It's just nonsense.
You should change the wheel of nonsense.
This is because the people have this common reality together. Right? But they don't actually.
I know. The more and more you watch that, you don't even hear the words they're saying. You're just listening to the accent.
You're putting in shushes where there's no shushes supposed to be.
Bradford. Playing Amsterdam in Bradford.
Oh, sorry,
There
that's
it
my
is.
bad.
There it is.
Who else? Oh, so you're cleaning out your pool. You find some dead animals. It's ugly. You're vomiting because of the smell of rotting worms that you're sucking up. I don't know if anyone's got a pool, but I do, and it's that's what it smells like. And you're like puking a little bit because you're like, oh my god! Like you ever smell dead things?
Yep.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. And then that job sucks. You know what would make it better? Between 5 and 29 Van Dyke First Cousins. All you got to do is contact Van Dyke Park Services at livefromthedutchhall@gmail.com, and we'll send you those between 5 and 29 Van Dyke First Cousins, and you're guaranteed to have the time of your life. And all it's going to cost you is $100 of cold hard cash, plus all of our expenses, which will be dear. And if you're not 100% satisfied, we're going to return that $100, but those expenses run through our bodies and potentially yours. Van Dyke Park Services,
Don't live your life in regret.
brought to you by our good friends at Clean Flow.
Thanks,
Clean Flow, what up?
Yeah, thanks, Clean Flow. And you know what? We understand Charles is a disappointment to you and to everyone, really, in this room for what he's done to you and your product. Mostly put him in his rectum. Right? The honeydew doesn't have to always go in there, Dave. It's meant to lubricate other things.
You should. you gotta take it out of the can. That's the thing. Don't just use
Step
the can.
1, take it out of the can.
Yeah.
Don't get too don't get too crazy at first.
Dave wanted to lubricate his asshole, so he's just shoved the can of lube in his asshole.
He just
He
gets so
didn't open
excited.
it and squirt the
Thought it
lube.
worked.
He just thought,
he just
I'll
goes,
just shove the whole thing in there dry, and
Maybe
it'll
it'll-
somehow lube
maybe
itself.
maybe it'll break open and
Yeah, it just disintegrates and it's all lube.
'cause there's so much like barbed wire
Yeah,
and
like a suppository.
Legos up there. It'll just cut it open. It'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, a wooden spoon.
Some clogs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dave's Polish, eh?
Now I'm ready.
And so, and who else? Is that is that for Oh, Yarmy Electric.
Oh, yes.
Yarmy Electric.
Derek.
You know what? You guys really got to leave Derek alone because I'm almost ready for him in my basement. And the last thing he needs right now is to add my job along with your fucking bullshit. Because your stuff doesn't matter because it's not mine. Yarmy Electric, if you don't get it right the first time, we'll get it right the second time. And if we don't get it right the second time,
You can go fuck yourself.
also brought to you by Clean Flow. And
Flow.
that's it for ads. So we only get to feedback, and we already did Eric's dad's, which is the best one. I'm going to call him the listener of the week, anyways. He's the listener of the week.
Eric's
He's the
dad.
listener of the week.
That's right.
This is his week.
Thank you very
Money.
much. But there's one person that comes every week, and she gives us feedback,
Yeah.
whether we ask for it or not. And she's our good friend, the Cheese Lady.
We're checking on the cheese lady, on the cheese lady, checking on the cheese lady, always on the run. Checking on the cheese lady, on the cheese lady, checking on the cheese lady, she's always having fun. Checking on the cheese lady, on the cheese lady, checking on the cheese lady, she's always on the run. Checking on the cheese lady, on the cheese lady, checking on the cheese lady. That can is up Charter's bomb.
This is what she says this week. Teresa from the Second Mouse in Delhi says, "I'm looking at Charter's bum."
Ah, zing.
Again.
She goes, "Just joking. Fuck Charters."
Fuck Charters.
Is that what she
It's
said?
called Teresa.
Yeah, so it says it right here. She didn't say fuck. She said 4 stars in the place of
Oh.
fuck. But she knows. She says, "Fuck Charters. Ha ha ha. Sorry, Charters. If you can't beat them, join them." She's on board.
She's still my favorite.
You do love Charters.
Love
One time
cheese.
ranked the
Always
super
have.
fans. He ranked the super fans and how how many he liked them.
Really?
Yeah, he said my favorite
hear
super
it.
fan is Cheese Lady. He said he put her on the top.
Wow.
And I'm like,
high praise.
Charters, that's high praise.
That's
Because we're talking about a lot of super fans here, and you're just going on the record
Number 1.
over Lori Ball,
Absolutely.
over Manny Fajo,
Cheese. I love
over
cheese.
Bruce Veltri. Oh, you love cheese. You
I
love
do.
cheese. You don't.
I love cheese so much. When I was a kid, my old Scottish grandmother went
Put
to the
it in
bakery.
his ass.
She went to the bakery
Sorry.
downtown in Waterford, and she brought home some Danishes for her grandkids. What a beautiful grandmother, eh? And she said, "David, I know you're the one who likes cheese, so I got you a nice cheese Danish."
Nah, you're telling the story wrong, Dave.
Wait.
You're telling the story wrong.
You're a child, and you get the cheese Danish.
Yeah.
I would have kicked your ass in school.
Yeah,
Everybody else
it's
gets a
always
nice
like because I was
raspberry
there
or
to
a
watch
lemon.
it. Yes, I was there to watch it. It's like, oh, Richard, you have your lemon, right? We have some nice strawberry.
Peter,
right?
you want a strawberry?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, would you like this beautiful raspberry? And oh, there's a blueberry one. And then, David, here's your cheese. I know how you like cheese. You're the one that likes cheese. She kept saying it to him, like repeatedly.
Oh, yeah.
You're the one that likes cheese. Until I just kept saying it to Charters. Like every time someone offered cheese on something, I'm like, oh, you're gonna take that. You're the one that likes cheese.
Yeah. I really wanted a fruit Danish. I really did. She's Scottish.
She's Scottish.
David, here's your cheese Danish. Come on and get it then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's your cheese. Come
Oh,
get
you
your
wee bonny
cheese.
lad.
It's
Come and
like
get
we
your
made it in
cheese.
Edinburgh.
Oh, there it is.
I put some spoiled milk in a sack.
Oh, come and get your cheese Danish.
Thick enough to stop a 998.
Don't put it in
Wee
your ass
bonny
again.
lad. Stop sticking it in your ass. You bonny lad.
Your grandfather would be so disappointed if he
Yeah.
went dead.
This nice Scottish is crap.
Go cry yourself to sleep on your huge pillow.
You heard that often, didn't you?
On your cheese pillow.
On your cheese pillow, you giant blockhead.
You block.
Some cheese.
Yeah, my son married some Pollock who
He's
made
got
these
man
gargantuan grandchildren. Sorry, Charters. Oh, that's funny.
Cheese Danish.
Cheese Danish and ribs.
Oh, so we're done with Cheese Lady. We're done with everything. That is it this week for feedback. We got feedback. If you'd like to give us an email at livefromthedutchhall@gmail.com, or you can do the Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram bullshit, or any of that stuff, and we can get. Fuck me, Pete.
Wide internet.
I just have to hold this.
Oh, holding's not a good idea. Crinkle.
Just don't
Yeah,
touch.
yeah.
The
Crinkle,
government knows
crinkle.
what we're talking about tonight. They're already cutting us off.
I think I'm gonna have to do
There
it.
you
I
go,
got
you're
it. I
live.
got it.
Just
as
don't
long as I
touch
don't
the
touch
base.
it. Yeah.
Just
I'll be
touch it on
fine.
the
Justin
shaft.
Trudeau's
I'll
like,
touch
pull
it
the
on my
plug.
shaft.
Pull
Yeah.
the plug.
I'm gonna do the old Tyler Shazma in a good mood with the mic stand tricks, where I start to become a little bit more acrobatic with it.
That's
like
the only
this.
when I'm in a good mood.
Yeah. When Tyler's on stage and he's really feeling it, he's in the groove. Tyler starts to like lean and he starts to,
Pick up the stand, yeah.
he does stuff like that with
It's like
it.
Freddie Mercury without the AIDS.
Yeah.
No, it's with
No,
the-
Tyler has AIDS.
With the
Tyler has
AIDS.
AIDS.
I got AIDS.
Has
Yeah, yeah.
full-blown AIDS.
He has everything. Tyler's got actually
I got
everything.
2 weeks to live. I've had 2 weeks to live for 3.5 years.
Yeah. Any day now. He could leave. This is the way I keep asking him back on the show because I think he might die on the actual show.
Yeah, just keep bringing
That'd
it
be
back
great
every 2
ratings.
weeks.
It's great for ratings, if it happens, right? We had two people all like we thought could have been dying. They were puking quite grossly.
Oh, yes.
On the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, on my lap.
Oh, on Tyler's lap.
didn't
Yeah,
even
you
know
see
that.
her.
Out you knowing.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's it, Right? We got everything, all the business taken care of.
It's time.
The only thing we have to do now is introduce the wheel of conspiracy. This has categories. We have 8 categories. We've tried to group them all together. The first is called Things Aren't What They Seem. The second one is called Mysterious Creatures. Next category is Aliens. Lost Civilizations. The New World Order. Celebrity Deaths. Science is Stupid. And they're all trying to kill us.
They are.
There we go. Some are conspiracies, some are just weird shit.
Yes,
Yeah,
let's
that's a good mix.
see how the cards lie.
Give
Spin
it a
it.
spin. Here we go.
There we go.
Mysterious creatures.
Wow.
Oh,
Good
Ah.
start.
There we go.
It's a
That's-
good
My
starter.
God, where do we
That's
begin?
interdimensional.
What I like is like we're gonna have to be because we have aliens on the wheel.
We don't need to talk about it.
We're gonna have to say if these mysterious creatures are from another planet or another dimension, that they should be saved for the alien segment.
Okay.
Well, that's just set ground rules.
Other dimensions are for.
So mysterious
Other dimensions,
creatures.
I think, would be alien, wouldn't it be?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
should-
sure.
So
Should we jump to Sasquatch maybe? That'd be-
mysterious
Yes.
creatures
Good,
are of this realm.
Of this realm,
of this realm.
Of
of
this
what we can
planet Earth?
perceive. Yeah, what we can perceive. We're gonna go in.
Right.
This is a great one to start with because we get to go in slowly. For those that are uncomfortable,
Dip the old toes in.
yeah, we're gonna dip the toes in with an old Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch.
Yes.
Sasquatch is a good one. Sasquatch has been a favorite since I've been a kid. I used to be able to get Sasquatch books at my school library. That's fucked up. Like,
Really?
It's just, yeah.
They would tell you stuff about Sasquatch.
There's more than one book about Sasquatch. No, they wouldn't tell us. I just found them in the library. Just.
You always love this shit, eh?
Oh yeah, I do presentations on it. Like, I love this
Speeches
shit.
in school.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
like
It's
the
weird.
resident expert.
Yeah, when I was a kid, and then I never really grew out of it. I just, Bigfoot's something
And he
that
spends all-
fascinates me because it's like, it seems like something that's like very real. Because there's something called a Gigantopithecus. It used to be like this giant, 10-foot tall, in the orangutan family, like huge creature that roamed Asia, like I think over 50,000 years ago.
The
It was the
Bongo
last
ape.
known fossil they found. It's essentially a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And it's like something like this clearly existed, and like why not? Why couldn't it still exist like deep in the mountains?
'Cause
in like the Western Pacific along North America, like there's so much room to hide, so much space.
You've actually spent time in the bush too. Like,
yeah,
and
I've never went looking for Bigfoot, but you
But
keep
when
your
you
eyes
say exist, you mean like exist as a creature of this world, like a regular ape
Possibly.
or tiger.
There's different theories of Bigfoot, that he might be some kind of interdimensional creature that could pass through here. Like people witness seeing him disappear.
My favorite
in front of their
Bigfoot.
eyes
My
and-
favorite Bigfoot theory is that Bigfoot is just like a alien spaceship's pet. And they just have to let it off to take a shit every once in a while on Earth.
Gotta take a big old dump.
They don't
want
wanna
to
pick it up.
Maybe some asshole in the woods sees them and is like, our dog's just taking a shit out here. We gotta
Our
get
dog.
back to Mars.
It's just like, do you know there's actually a Star Wars weird fan fiction story about it's a side story of Han Solo and Chewbacca crash landing on Earth, and it's wrapped up as that's the Roswell landing site is the Millennium Falcon crashing into the desert. Han Solo dies, but Chewbacca escapes and becomes a legend of Sasquatch. Where's that fucking movie, right?
Mates with Nell.
Come on,
from,
J.J. Abrams. Make that one.
Makes with who?
With Nell from what was that Jodie Foster movie?
Nell?
Nell. Was that what it was called? Nell.
Where she had like
She's out in the
she showed her
mountains, she's
tits
like-
and they were all like flat, like eggs
Yeah.
on nails.
Yeah.
Putting on a
Because
wall.
Chewbacca would
Like
have to like
hobo packs.
procreate, right? To
She was like a wild woman from the bush or something like that. Right? Is that right? And it was
Yeah.
Jodie Foster with her gross tits and
Yeah.
stuff.
and Chewbacca
Yeah.
banged her.
Like Alf too. Alf would be another one he'd be like Bigfoot's kid.
Cheddars, me and you should do like Siskel and Ebert, like do movie reviews,
You should do movie commentary along with
Maybe it
the
could be a
movies.
new segment.
or like the Muppets. Cheddars, my kids were saying that, and then we said me and Cheddars are like we're gonna be like the old Muppets when we get old. He's the one with the big fat head. That's what she said.
Just talking shit.
What?
Just talking shit all the time.
My daughter, or me
No.
and you?
Yeah, the Muppets.
yeah, the
Those old
Muppets,
two
yeah.
old fuckers.
I love
What is
those
a
guys.
phenomena?
I love those guys. I like the fact when you age, you can get an opinion that's crazy, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. You know what I mean?
like
Keeps
Don
things
Cherry.
interesting.
That's
Stay-
what I want
fucking
my
stay
opinion.
open.
Like Don Cherry, yeah.
Don
Oh,
Cherry.
yeah.
But aren't those
keeps doing it.
opinions built off of experience
Not always.
at that point? Not always.
Not always.
based
Some of
off
it's
of
cut
fucking-
slack. Like think of an old man who goes and like you see him like at he's in like a restaurant, and the hot looking what do you call him when the greeter, the hot looking greeter brings him to the table, and he's like got his arm around her waist and he's calling her sugar and all this stuff because he's a 90-year-old man, right?
What does that have to do with Bigfoot?
Yeah, I'm saying that old man, right? That old man can get away with that shit, right? Because he's old, so they don't think he's really like just a dirty perv, but he really does want to like fuck that girl just like the rest of us do. It's same thing if he says something crazy about Bigfoot, he's gonna be like, he's just a fucking old man, you know? He's just, they don't really put much weight into it.
Yeah.
Whereas the same thing with him being a pervert, like it's the same thing. You can be a pervert, you can be a nut job, right? But when you're like in the functional part of society where you gotta like do work, like our age, and you're sitting there saying you got all these ideas about chasing around Bigfoot or whatever, people are like, this guy's nuts, you know? How's he gonna feed his kids,
Yeah.
right? But an old man does it, you're like, he's gonna die anyway,
Yeah.
right?
He's the kind of guy that spends his time in the woods.
Yeah, he's just a
people
nut.
that see wood.
Everybody's
Sasquatch,
chasing
right?
Bigfoot. It's not just old people. Like there's young people that are chasing Bigfoot.
I'm
That
thinking
Yeah,
of
I know,
opening
but they
a
pay more of a price.
other than Bigfoot, what are some other mysterious creatures
The
of
Loch
this?
Ness monster.
Yeah, the Loch Ness
Loch Ness
monster.
Monster.
Old
is-
Nessie.
Oh,
The old
yeah, I
Nessie.
bet.
No,
Which,
they-
like, that could be practical. That could be just one big ass fucking lizard that lives in one lake.
yeah, but can't you see like a lake? It's not so deep you can't see the bottom of that by now. They can know that
That's
it's-
been hoaxed over and over again,
Yeah.
though. And there's apparently this giant species of eel that aren't even native of the loch, but it's been caught by fishermen outside the loch and dumped into the Loch Ness, and they're fucking huge. And they come to the surface every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
So people see that, but when you see the pictures of Loch Ness monster and it's that fucking black thing in the water,
Okay.
trunk coming out, that's an elephant. That's been passed
You
off.
think it's an elephant?
No, it
Is there
is.
elephants
it's been
in
proven.
Ireland?
No, they took the picture. This thing was like this picture went
Isn't
around.
that where Loch Ness is?
Scotland.
Oh,
Scotland.
Ireland.
Scotland.
That's
This
it.
picture went
You
around.
fucking moron.
This guy got a hold of this picture in the fucking 30s or 40s or whenever it happened of an elephant like coming out of the water. And just the look of it, that's exactly what it looked like. This weird dinosaur head coming out.
Yeah, like
Because without context, like, so yeah, he went around with this picture.
That's that really famous black and white one, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
know
the
which
one.
one
That's
you're
just
talking
the
like-
about.
Mexicans have like a
elephant.
chupacabra. You heard of a
I love
chupacabra?
it.
Yeah.
Tyler was the chupacabra once.
I was a chupacabra once.
You were a chupacabra?
He was.
Yeah.
There's got to be a story behind that.
No, it was just a video where I took my pants off and pissed myself.
my
in
God.
a pair
Yeah,
of
With some
Please-
goblin mask.
Please look on YouTube right now. Look up Burgessville
The
chupacabra.
Burgessville
and
chupacabra.
You'll know you'll know which video to find when you see it.
That's
It's-
right, yeah.
It's one of the funniest videos on YouTube. But the chupacabra it's like a small like coyote, like
Yeah,
It's
it
like a
looks like a
mangy
dog,
coyote.
right?
like
That's
that's
what it
got
looked
like
like.
two big fangs on it that punctures the jugular vein of your sheep and,
And they say-
sucks all your blood.
They say it
Cattle.
can stand sometimes up on two legs, though, sometimes. I think it can get more like
yeah,
a
like
demony.
it's a weird thing. It's a regional thing, the chupacabra. They see it in Puerto Rico, they see it in New Mexico, they see it in Mexico.
And that could be real.
Nevada.
That could be an actual species of dog that just jacks
it
cattle.
it
with big
literally
fucking
just looks
fangs.
like a shitty mangy coyote,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
an inbred coyote.
Like lost
just like-
all its fur because it's mangy.
Yeah.
And like
So
Yeah,
those
just doing his
mysterious
best,
creatures
okay?
probably do exist. I would believe that shit.
that
right?
one sounds more reasonable than Yeti.
Yeah, but the one in Puerto Rico, they think it's like this creature escaped from a lab that just like stalks people in the jungle, and it's just like this. it's like built like a chimpanzee and has the head of a goat, and just like
But
it-
even a Yeti or a Bigfoot or that could exist. Like
that.
like a species doesn't mean that it's gonna be like 100 of them.
It is from
There,
Holland.
there might be
Yeah.
2 of the species.
There's lots of species.
Species.
How about skinwalkers?
Skinwalkers.
You ever heard of skinwalkers?
Yeah.
Body
skin-
snatchers.
They're like
Body
they're like shapeshifters, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like
They're like
body
native
snatchers.
native legend in all over North America of skinwalkers. They're like witches essentially.
So they could
And,
take different shapes.
Yeah, they were eventually people that were like cast out and used this dark magic for evil and were able to shapeshift into different animals and different people and just kind of just fuck with people for the rest of their lives and just haunt different lands. So yeah, there's like different places in North America that are known as like paranormal hotspots. And they call it Skinwalker Ranch for that reason because like there's sightings of like wolves that come in and like attack cattle and they fire shotguns at it and it has no effect. And they're like right in front, just blowing it away with a shotgun, a wolf, and just like it's just not having any effect and just walks away. To like orbs flying around, to like Sasquatch and like
yeah.
all this weird shit happening in one ranch. And like that's they think it's because it's also native land in Utah. And that's what the legend is. It's like a skinwalker. That's what they're all saying. It's like it's one entity that's just taking weird forms and
And trying to fuck with people.
yeah,
like-
yeah. And like it's amazing because a actual scientific group took hold of this ranch. They bought the ranch and went in there to try and prove all of this is real. Like set up cameras, everything they could try, anything they can to try and like record what's actually happening. And just like every other fucking paranormal thing, Of course, they couldn't get anything on camera. Cameras didn't work.
Yeah.
Like,
Because it's
yeah.
How convenient.
yeah.
Yeah.
It always doesn't end up.
But they always think it has the power to interfere with all of this. It like, but you know.
So, it's pretty evident at this point that you're the conspiracy guy.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
So, which one of what we've discussed thus far in our mysterious creatures category would you say is the most legit that you believe?
I'd say Sasquatch. I think it's believable that this subspecies of humanoid has been able to hide itself stealthily in the deep woods of the Pacific West, especially if they especially if they understand human nature and humans. They're gonna stay the fuck away from us as much as they can.
Yeah.
And they could just be a simple, just forest dwelling, living together in small groups. There could be only maybe like 500 along the whole coast, but
Yeah.
you know,
They could live
it's believable.
underground and just have to come up once in a while to get shit.
Yeah. All right. Oh, wheel time.
You want to do it? Let's spin
Yeah,
it
let's
again.
give her a spin.
Spinner.
Give it a ding, 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 ding.
Spin the wheel.
All right. The New World Order.
Here we go.
Now we're getting into some real meat and potatoes of this conspiracy theories. Now,
Tyler, I feel like you know more about this one than I do. You got into this one. Your dad got you into this. Your
This
dad talks about this one, doesn't
now let me preface this with just by saying that anytime, by the very definition of like conspiracy, any government would be, by its very nature, trying to control the masses by deciding what's better for everyone by doing things on our behalf. Correct?
he? Yeah,
Right.
that's understood.
Right? And some people don't like that, and some people do, I guess, or some people see it as a necessary evil or whatever. But this one, the New World Order, would suggest that there's a select group of people,
A cabal.
I believe it's the Queen,
Aren't they a rap group?
Colonel Sanders,
Cabal?
Yeah, they're definitely involved.
Oh, the
but
Vatican?
the
all-
Vatican,
all of
The
them.
Gettys?
the Rothschilds,
The
Rockefellers,
The Koch brothers.
and Colonel Sanders before he went tits up.
Yeah.
Right?
And,
That's
and Jay-Z.
Before he went tats up.
And Jay-Z is the newest one.
Yeah.
and Jay-Z.
and Jay-Z and Kanye West.
He's just, I don't know about Kanye. I don't think they won't let Kanye
He's too
know
much
about,
of a fucking lunatic.
They won't let him know about the banks and
Yeah.
No Keezy yet. Yeah.
yeah, they're not gonna let him into the bones yet. The bones, skull and bones.
Skull
Yeah.
and bones.
The
But-
weird owl.
Who's that guy in the bottom? Is that
ceremonies.
Serge Tankian?
Zappa, isn't it?
The pictures
Oh, it's
on
Frank
it's
Zappa.
Frank Zappa. And now the reason Frank Zappa and Jim Morrison are on that particular square is because Frank Zappa and Jim Morrison both came from military families, and there's a conspiracy theory out there that suggests that because they come from military families, that they were both characters that were introduced to the counterculture in order to infiltrate the counterculture and control them. And that they thought that if they were able to use these counterculture figures, they could use them to control the people that were rejecting them from the regular means. You know. Now we're starting to get into things that kind of I even start to say.
I'll never
like-
listen to the Doors again. The same again.
Yeah, but I mean, they're just because their parents were in the military. I don't think either of these guys really like their parents a heck of a lot. You know.
Yeah, but the connection between the New World Order and the music industry is always right there because they have to program us some way
Yeah.
to make us go and consume because that's what it's
I don't
all
know if I
about is
buy the Frank
consumption.
Zappa part. You know, like this is the
Yeah.
guy that wrote like "Why Does It Hurt When I Pee?"
Yeah.
And
Don't
shit.
eat the yellow snow.
Yeah, like I don't know how much I.
Yeah.
Well,
he's-
part of the New World Order philosophy is that you're trying to control the masses. You're trying to placate them. You're trying to make them peaceful and controllable and malleable. You're trying to get them to give up their rights so that
And
you can.
vaccinate them.
Yeah, and so you can control them. Yeah, with whatever you can use. You know, fluoride, vaccinations. Chemtrails, whatever you got to use to get them under control. You're going to use it, right? So, excuse me.
Little puke in your mouth?
What was my? No, it wasn't no
Sorry, Larry.
puke. It was just a deep burp. But what was I saying before that? I literally lost my train of thought.
Chemtrails, Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa.
Control the
They're saying they're
masses.
supposed to placate the masses. So to use someone saying, why does it hurt when I pee, would then say they're doing it because when everyone's laughing and like doing acid and having a good time, they're not like revolting
They're
against
throwing
the
some subliminal messages in there, right?
yeah, they're not revolting against the war they're putting on. They're just having a good time doing acid
yeah.
and staying out of the way. And that's kind of what the club scene would be in the States now, you know? It's like take all those people that don't want to like participate in our real world yet, and you put them in a bunch of clubs with DJs, and you load them full of ecstasy, and then you just like make the same beats go over and over, and these idiots will stay out of the way, you know?
Do
And-
those beats have a hidden message though? Is that the real thing?
I guess that's the real
Join
thing,
the
yeah.
Navy.
Yeah.
Join the Navy.
Yeah.
Join the Navy.
It's like date
Be a
rape,
lawyer.
date rape, yeah. And then Britney Spears is on the list there, or on the wheel there too, and you might wonder why she's there. Now, there's a conspiracy out there that suggests that Britney Spears was used in around the 2000s, around the time of actually 9/11 and such, and during George W. Bush's tenure as president of the United States, they used Britney Spears to distract the public from any of the nefarious things that they were doing in the, like if they did a policy the public wouldn't like, Britney would get married to K-Fed, right? And
I
all of
haven't
a
heard
sudden,
that since 2002. K-Fed.
K-Fed, and then
These
like,
dates are all linked to your.
yeah,
what?
they're linked. They say like George Bush did this, and then Britney shaved her head, you know. And then, so there are all these things that done in the media to distract you from
Beautiful.
policy
I've heard
changes.
that one.
Take over the
You haven't
headlines.
heard that?
Yeah,
That's
to
my
take over the
favorite.
headlines
That
because
makes-
people
it's
be
distractions.
it's distractions. It's like the masses don't really want to know what's going on, so you can you let it go out, and as soon as that news breaks, then all of a sudden like like Beyonce shows her tits, you know, or whatever, and then everyone forgets that they're just
I would buy that.
yeah.
In that, I think there's probably some fucking nerd in the White House who's like paying attention to everything,
Yeah.
and he goes, "All right, so this is in the news. Now we do what we got to do."
Yeah.
Like he's paying attention and trying to like
That's the more obvious.
govern
thing to
when
think.
the best part is like whether Britney Spears is some sort of like
She's like a
But
token.
if there's
Like a
nothing,
secret
if there's
agent.
nothing going on, if Britney
Yeah.
Spears isn't fucking going crazy, then they're like, maybe we should make Britney Spears
Yeah.
goes crazy.
Maybe
so we
she's
can
like
drop
an
some
MK
fucking bombs
Ultra
on Syria.
Victim.
Yeah, right.
You've heard of MK Ultra, where they CIA testing acid on people.
Oh,
different
yeah.
psychedelics.
Yeah.
That was back in the
Yeah,
60s and
back
stuff.
She's
in
like
the
a secret
60s,
agent.
But they say the program lived on under different names.
Right. Yep.
She might be a victim of that.
Oh, yeah.
she's
She
like
did
one of
become
those
the crazy party girl.
she's like one of those like Soviet guys where like what do they call that when you say like the secret word and then it just programs
yeah, they just
them?
turn on. It's like
Yeah, it like turns her on her robot brain.
Is it a
Winter
conspiracy?
Soldier. That's what you
The
call it.
winters you call them the Winter Soldier.
That's right.
Is it a conspiracy that like there's a bunch of actresses in Hollywood who are just like fucking like Arab sheiks for like millions of dollars, but they're like big, huge, and then they get
no,
like bigger.
that's just a good paycheck.
Yeah,
that's
that's not a-
that's just girls trying to collect.
just trying to make money.
That's girls I
Um,
knew, Pete.
Oh, the other one that's on there, Agenda 21. Now, Agenda 21 is a legitimate. For those of you who don't know what Agenda 21 is, it is called the Agenda for the 21st Century of the United Nations. You know the United Nations, Michael? You know the United Nations?
Have I heard of the
Yeah.
United Nations? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
like, is this a test?
yeah, it's a test. No, I'm just curious if you knew the United Nations. And then, but yeah, no, the United Nations, they try to control the whole world, right? Like that's what they do. The whole world comes together and they try to make decisions for the whole world, right? So what they did was they made this plan for the 21st century, the whole century. They laid it all out and at the United Nations. And they said, we're going to do this stuff. We're going to take care of the planet, right? We're going to make that sure that everybody's like goes more green, you know, like and takes care of the environment. And then we're going to make sure that everybody like follows the rules that we set, even at the municipal level, that everybody does what we want. And it's going to like, and part of this plan is to decentralize people so that the people aren't spread out, that they actually live in like centralized locations like cities. and in big boxes where they're stacked on top of each other. And then they would all be centralized, and all the other places where people are living, like the mountains and in the desert and the country, they'd all be like moved into these big central locations, and then big horrible things will happen to exterminate those people in order that the wealth allocation can get. That's where the conspiracy comes in, eh? That's where it all of a sudden takes
And like population control.
And they would do population control, yeah.
They need to do more population control.
And then some of that is like they say, is this? I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Agenda.
Oh no,
21?
they're trying to kill us. It's
They're
kind of
doing it, in many ways, making us fat. They're just like they know they're killing us with sugar and all this shit,
yeah.
making it.
But some of that is strictly commerce. It's like, is it a conspiracy to kill us? Maybe not, but it is a conspiracy to definitely to move corn. You know, like they have corn farmers, and they have all this infrastructure set up for people to grow corn across the United States or across North America or whatever. And so they have all this corn lobby group in the States is huge. And these corn lobby groups just like put a lot of money into making sure that this corn machine that they've built works. You feed it to cattle, you feed it to people.
Can use it as energy.
You use it as energy. You just build corn. Everything's set up to move corn. Now, if they put that land and that all the effort and resources into something else, let's say like just vegetables, an assortment of vegetables or whatever, things that we can like digest, then that would be replaced. And those farmers that were growing corn would be happy as fuck to grow asparagus or grow fucking potatoes or whatever they're growing, you know. But no, everything's in corn, and they make it cheap, and they feed us like we're cattle. And that to me is like, it's definitely controlling, but it's controlling just so because they have these big companies that already have their money spent on this shit, and they're saying that's what you're going to do. And they don't give a shit the fact that it's going to be at the expense of our healthcare system, at the expense of our lifespans, at the expense of everything else, right? Fucking corn. That's a big thing, I think. I get really upset about that because that's a big thing. We can't digest it, motherfuckers. Stop feeding it to us. And you feed it to people who don't know any better, and then they end up getting sick and dying from it.
I love corn on the cob. This sucks.
Corn on the cob is delicious, though, and it's just poop decoration. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't hurt.
It's like Christmas lights for your shit.
Yeah, it's nice.
Right.
I like to see it come out. It's
festive.
Yeah, it's like a timing thing, too. It's like pigeon racing. You eat the corn and you just wait, and then I'm saying,
so excited.
Like an
Which
acorn.
day is it going to be?
12 hours. That's quick.
I just cut it off.
Is that good or bad?
I cut it off the cob and throw it right in the toilet. Just skip the middleman.
You don't want to taste it?
Yeah.
You should chew it and then spit it in the toilet. You want to move on? Oh, no, Agenda 21, and then the Illuminati or whatever.
Kind of did it, dude.
But the whole thing about this is they're saying, to go back to Agenda 21, they're saying if the world controls things, it takes out of, like, instead of Norfolk County deciding, you can build on Lake Erie, you know? Instead of saying you can build on Lake Erie, now the UN, like the world group, which is less people now, there's less people now deciding that what I can do here in Norfolk County, I can't build a fucking condo on the lake because these guys say I gotta go live in a box in Toronto, you know? Like, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna ever fucking do that. I'm gonna throw Molotov cocktails at them until they all leave me alone, and my family too. I would if they made me move to one of those big boxes in the city that they're showing. I watched these videos today; it scared the shit out of me. They're showing like actual locations in Las Vegas and in like Pennsylvania and all these different places where they have these great big like huge buildings to store people in, you know, and.
Is it like a housing development? What is it?
It looks like
For
these
old people,
great.
yeah.
They call them like FEMA camps, and then they're camps for people. But then the intention is to make these apartments. Some of them are nicer than others, but they're these big apartment complexes where you're just kind of stacked up, and then they just want to like centrally locate people. And
Well,
then
they do that in Vegas. Probably no, because they're gonna run out of water soon. They're like, yeah, they're gonna have to somewhere. They need somewhere to go
Yeah,
once
yeah.
Vegas gets fucked up and too hot. And
That's the thing about these conspiracy
Unlivable.
series. There's got to be some altruistic thing. Like some of it's just a matter of like being concerned that we're we have so many people, we have to be able to give them the essentials, and it's easier to give them the essentials if they're all in one spot, right?
I guess.
I like to think that the optimist in me likes to say that a lot of it is because people are just generally fucking stupid
Is that right?
across space and time.
Yeah.
And they'll
Across
just do.
generations, people are fucking stupid. And a lot of it is people are so dumb that they think that this is a good idea, right? So people who are making these big decisions are fucking stupid, right? So they're doing things like fucking up the water and fucking up our diet and fucking up this for the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
And then the consumer is so fucking stupid that they just sit there and take it and swallow the shit.
You
know
think
what I
that's
mean?
what it is? Cause
I think it's like this weird
It's very true.
happy accident of like this unstoppable force meeting this like incredibly movable object. And the unstoppable force is money, obviously, right? That shit
Yeah.
controls everybody and everything. And that's the end all be all of civilization is the dollar. In our case, it's the dollar. And then the people want shit. They want stuff. They want we
They're
find
con-
our self-worth in shit, in stuff, and that becomes a point of pride is the more stuff you have and the bigger your stuff, the better you are,
Yeah.
because we're monkey morons.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you
because-
think this might have been imposed on purpose on the general public?
See, that's
to,
where that's the part that I'm not entirely sure of.
They're
is whether
selling that value system, though.
Just think-
That value system is sold to us through
that's
our
how they dumb us
advertising.
down,
Advertising,
keep
but
us slow. and
the
just
advertising is
unaware.
100% a means to make money, right? So whether it's advertisers purposefully trying to fuck with people and trying to do maybe implement population control or implement this or that or the box thing, and or it's just a way to make money and people just eat that shit up.
Yeah, like
You know?
but it's all it's all people convincing you want something you don't want, or
Yeah.
like and then people just are filling voids in their life with the shit that they're told they might
Yeah.
want,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then
And
but-
it's like this weird two-way highway of people who buy this shit, buy this garbage, buy like the sham wow and the fucking, the mop that scratches your balls for you because you're too lazy to do it yourself, or the automatic curtains because you can't pull the fucking thing.
you know what's amazing is the amount of people that are in the fucking self-help business now.
Oh,
The people that are in the they're like website entrepreneurs, but they just sell you on how you can live your dream and like fucking
Yeah.
drive this car.
Do what
and
I did.
Do what I
Driving a
did.
Lamborghini.
Yeah,
yeah, that guy, the
listen to me.
garage guy. Here's my this is my wall of books. I keep in my garage for no reason whatsoever. I read in my garage.
Yeah.
There's no chairs here in the video. There's nothing. I just stand there.
I look at books. I like to look
I like
touch.
it.
I like to touch their bind.
I like to
strong
finger
bind.
the pages.
I love it. Lick my fingers and smell them. Anyways, let's roll this wheel around. Hey, and things aren't what they seem. That's what we ended on. Things aren't what they seem.
Things aren't what
This
they
is
seem.
referring to a number of theories that the reality that we are in right now, the reality that we believe is exists due to the senses that we are limited by, our 6 senses or 5 senses. A shark has 6, right?
Yeah.
Our 5 senses: smell, sight, taste, touch, and what's the other one?
Hear
Feel,
things.
hear,
Forgot about hearing.
hearing, all those ones. We're limited, right? A dog can hear things we can't hear. Like an eagle can see things we can't see. A bug can see things we can't see. Like a dog can smell things we can't smell. Like to think that our limited perception of what's going on in the universe by our senses alone, to have the audacity to think that we can understand anything when we're only limited by these senses that we have is ridiculous to me, So in this regard, there are some things that even Stephen Hawking, that head on a wheel that got more pussy than me in his whole life, I can't believe it. But Stephen Hawking had this thing called the simulation theory, right? They talked about the simulation theory,
Yep.
which the simulation theory is kind of like the Matrix. You know the Matrix with Keanu Reeves? And I never saw it myself. But I understand the principle of it is that the whole reality is bullshit, right? It's a simulation. We're like The Sims. We're like a video game that some other guy's playing. We're all those
Plugged in
people.
somewhere.
Right, right. And then everything that we have around us, our perception, our reality, is just a series of ones and zeros, an electrical charge. And our only way to cope with these electrical charges is to make things tangible. Like this pen, I can touch and feel. It's three-dimensional, and it's because of my limited perception based on my
Whoa, man.
Your sensory
blew my
range.
That's all you got.
that's the way. That's the
Oh my
reason
God.
why.
Freaking out.
You can't see this. That's all you got.
Yeah, that's the reason why this pen is a pen to me. But really, this is a series of just like electrical charges, and it exists only in a virtual reality that doesn't really exist. My consciousness itself is only allowed to be limited by what the gifts they've given me to be a part of this game, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
anyways, the thing about this theory is it's completely unprovable. You can't disprove it or prove it. Therefore, it could exist. And what difference does it fucking make if it does? Is the
Well,
question.
Here's the thing: unless you're gonna think about it like the Matrix, and that like literally it's a computer generated thing
By the
by this
robots.
mass robot
Yeah.
thing. What if you were to think about it as our limited sensory perception of what the world is, of what humans think the world is? Now, you're saying that those are our 5 limited senses. There's also infrared. There's different frequency waves of sound, light, air, all of these different molecules. And the way that those react with one another could be interpreted as another reality or universe or dimension.
Yes.
And so the whole theory behind...
Well, even just the fact that there's like microwaves and radio waves and cell phone
so what
shit
if
and all that stuff's around
What if
us.
we're able to break our spectrum and cross into those frequency ranges in
Yeah.
our own physical self or mental state?
Eating mushrooms. There you go.
Eating mushrooms,
Well, that's
open
the thing
to
about-
specific
DMT.
door.
And jerking off.
That's the thing about those people that say they can see these things from other realms. They say that they've just been able to tune into this other
I think that people
sense.
exaggerate that to the point of like magic lights and stuff, but really they're just seeing, they've clicked into that frequency spectrum. They're resonating a certain frequency that's allowing them to enter into this field. That's what a lot of the theories behind time travel, weightlessness and gravity, why space and why the Earth, there's gravity on Earth and why there's nothing in space and all of that. It's all based on frequency and vibration of all these elements that we perceive.
Rather than by mass?
Rather than by mass or the what we're limited to.
Because we'll get into that, and science is stupid.
There's
because there's a good point I'd like to make in that one. What else do we? Oh, we got to talk about the Mandela effect though before we get too far. The Mandela effect. Are people aware of that? The Mandela effect.
Where people thought Mandela died.
Yeah, it's that's one of the things. That's the kind of how it got its name. Is that there's a common misconception that when Nelson Mandela was imprisoned in South Africa, he one time in his imprisonment died. And there were times when Nelson Mandela was in prison where he feared that he would die in prison, like many of the people that were in prison with him. But he actually didn't die. He died as an old man, and everybody saw him as an old man, and it was factual that he, in fact, lived to a ripe old age.
I think this is just another thing of people being stupid.
Yes.
That's a simple sum up for that.
Yeah.
And so because of this, they call it the Mandela effect when people remember a historical event. And there's certain things, we'll go through some of them. Do you guys know Fruit Loops, the cereal Fruit Loops?
Yeah.
Follow your nose.
Now, how would you spell fruit in Fruit Loops?
F-R-U-I-T.
No, it's spelled F-R-O-O-T.
Right. Yeah.
Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops.
Now, there are certain people out there that will tell you to your face that it is spelled fruit, F-R-U-I-T.
I swear I can picture it on the box.
On the
as
box,
F-R-U-I-T right now.
F-R-U-I-T. And they're saying that actually did exist. And that at some point in time, something altered our universe where we bounced into another dimension where now Fruit Loops became Froat Loops, and
this
this is what's
the same
happening.
thing as the
What
ba-
else has
the-
happened though? Is
this
that
is
all
the-
that happens when we
Oh,
shift?
would you like some more examples?
So
This
it
is
ties into deja vu.
Do you remember the
the
Berenstain Bears?
Berenstain
Yeah.
paradox. I was just gonna say.
The
God damn.
Burn.
And now that one is total horseshit because Berenstain Bears, you know the Berenstain Bears? You want to listen to the theme song, you can't tell what they're saying. Either one of those things. Turns out some people mistake Berenstein for Berenstein. Some people
Okay,
make it
But is there
Bernstein.
anything bigger than the Berenstain Bears and Fruit Loops? Is there like the like?
Oh, how about this one?
Are you
How about this one,
seriously?
Shaz? How about, you remember watching a little movie called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah? Remember when the evil queen goes into the mirror
sure.
and she asks the mirror the question? What question did the queen ask the mirror? Do you remember that?
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Yeah.
Who's the fairest one of all?
Yeah, that is incorrect. She said magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all, but it's been misquoted as mirror, mirror. And they're saying it used to be mirror, mirror, but then this
Parallel
fucking thing
dimension.
happened.
Okay,
And
anything
Okay.
of any importance.
That's a glitch.
Like,
huh?
Any
hey,
other glitch in history?
All right.
eat your vegetables.
In
How about
actual-
this
Hey,
one?
you
in actual
motherfuckers were
history.
just talking about Loch Ness
This one-
Monster and some Sasquatch.
This one's unbelievable.
No, I
There was
believe
a-
it, but there's no importance to any of it. Who cares if this is like Berenstein, Berenstein? Who
no.
gives
Yeah,
a
is-
shit?
How about
is
this?
it like eat your
A
veg-
full-length motion picture,
It seems
a
to be
full-length
Hollywood.
motion picture starring Sinbad, accomplished comedian Sinbad,
Yeah.
Accomplished?
called Kazam, where he dressed like a genie.
Yep.
That was
And-
Shaq.
Yeah.
And Shazam.
It was Shaq and Shazam actually exist, but there is a theory that there was a one with Sinbad dressed as a genie called Kazam or whatever, and that also did not exist at all, and people will swear it did until this
You know
bump.
what? I gotta
Now-
say it again. It's stupid people. It's stupid people.
What? Sinbad was never a genie in a movie. Yeah, you were in the dimension shift.
So
Now,
he-
certain people will say
I'm
that
with
this
you- I'm with
this
you.
goes even further. It goes even further to say that there's this lab they have in I think Scandinavia or something, and they were trying to recreate the universe, the birth of the universe, the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
So they were trying to in this.
And it's just affecting children's books and like children's movies and just like
that where they
slight
were-
things.
Oh,
They
did
were-
you know C-3PO had a silver leg? They're all TV
And
things.
this
They're all
is
movie things.
Going back to things aren't what they seem in this parallel dimension thing. Just interestingly enough, that this has been a very old theory of things aren't what they seem beyond our senses. Have you guys ever heard of H.P. Lovecraft, the horror writer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wrote a lot of these books, and he would write about like the eldritch horror, which was like this. Basically, there were these interdimensional, sort of transdimensional, almost squid-like creatures, like Cthulhu. That was a popular thing that he created.
Interdimensional mantis man.
Yeah, and it was like this. They're usually called the Great Ones, or the Great Beings, or something. And they essentially were so beyond our comprehension that the second anybody ever found out about it or learned about it, they were driven utterly insane. And he created like an entire horror genre in like the 1800s or whatever about learning about this type of stuff. And those who find out are driven to utter insanity, and no one will believe them, and that what further drives their insanity. So the whole thing of like these creatures beyond our dimension and beyond time and space and beyond our utter comprehension, beyond all five of our senses, are like kind of almost puppeteering the universe as we know it.
Yeah. You know, when I quit my job, I spent a lot of time by myself just thinking about things because I was completely unemployed after a long time. And so then I started to go deep into thought, like at a level where you're trying to figure out everything, like the universe and stuff, like deep into it. And I remember going like pretty deep into it, like to the point where I was kind of getting scared, And then I remember talking to a friend of mine, Jason Ryder. He likes to grow things on the ground and then harvest them and sell them. And then he says to me, what the fuck are you trying to figure out everything up there for? He said, keep your feet on the ground. You're going to figure out everything that goes on in the world, and then no one's going to want to talk to you because you're like too much of a weirdo. You know, you'll have all the answers, but no one will understand what you're talking about, and then you'll end up being ostracized from everyone in your life.
Sounds like my life. Yeah.
And he goes, "Do you want to? Do you really want to do that?" And I thought, I don't think I would want to do that. No.
Because even if you figure it all out, you're not going to be able to tell anyone.
Or
Yeah.
or even.
No one's gonna understand what you're talking
And you're
about.
not going to be able to fucking do anything with it either.
No.
What are you going to do? You're just going to have the information and then continue to sit on your ass and watch
More YouTube
Modern
videos.
Family and watch more YouTube videos of 9/11 and jet fuel can't melt steel beams, and you're just going to be like freaking out and all upped on Adderall, and no one will like
yeah, it
you.
sucks. It does suck though, because I don't know, if Cheddars, you're like a sick genius too. Like you have your brain works weird. Like you're like a super tested weirdo genius, right? So like you must see things. Now you're old. You've been through life. You see patterns and stuff. You see things. You must know things are gonna happen before they happen, like a little bit, because you've seen them.
Like I can see the future.
A little bit, right? Like you can a little bit. Can't you? Though you see things. You see the probability of things happening. Like it becomes more clear what's going to happen because it's happened so many times. You know what I mean?
I guess so.
If you pay attention to it. I don't know. That's the way my brain works. And then it ends up being kind of like you do see what's going to happen in the future. And then you look crazy, right? But it's just like, it's just a pattern of things that always happen. If you do this and this and this, then this will happen, you know? If you just pay attention to it, it is kind of. But if you're that smart that you pay attention to that stuff and you like know what's going to happen and you tell people it's going to happen, and people are going to think you're nuts. You know what I mean? But it's just math. It's just probability. It's just math.
Yeah, it's like my dad. We have a place out in Nova Scotia, out on the cliffside. He's got property. He keeps wanting to put a cottage up there. I'm like, Dad, 30 years, that's going to be like, cliff's going to be gone because of like climate change. The ocean's going to rise. He just won't listen. They all think I'm crazy.
Yeah, but he'll be gone in 30 years too, so he doesn't give a fuck. Let's spin this thing again.
I'll just have a terrifying cottage
Yeah.
on the edge of a cliff.
Celebrity deaths.
Celebrity deaths.
Celebrity deaths. Over the history, there's been a number of conspiracies about different celebrities that have passed away where they think their death is just not what it's cracked up to be through the reports of their death. Let's give some examples of that. Lady Di. Some people think the Queen gave her a murder. Yeah, because she was dating that Indian fella. Right? And
I
then
wouldn't put it past her.
Instead of the paparazzi, it was like the Queen saying, get that girl.
The hand of the Queen.
Yeah, she didn't like it. Dodi Al-Fayed.
She's a blight.
Marilyn Monroe.
One of the most famous conspiracy theories of all time is JFK. You know?
Tied to him, Marilyn Monroe.
The grassy knoll.
Oh, Marilyn
Tied
Monroe.
to that is the whole alien conspiracy.
Oh, yeah, that's
What do you
right.
mean, tied to Marilyn
So
Monroe? as an alien?
when Marilyn Monroe was having the affair with the two Kennedys, there's a document, this is on the FBI website, that talks about Marilyn Monroe meeting with one of the Kennedys to go over items of national interest at, I think it was Los Alamos, so Area 51. And this is back at that time when they're really going over, you know, apparently they've discovered, you know, space flight and all of
he
that
basically
sort of stuff.
pillow talked it
So
to Marilyn Monroe
there's a document that states that she was basically assassinated.
because she knew about
Because when that was going on, and then the Kennedys were trying to space themselves from her because they're trying to do their whole get to the moon thing, beat the Russians. They didn't want any media backlash from Marilyn Monroe and this whole affair that was going on to get in the way of that. So these black ops and hidden government programs and all these other things apparently killed her. Many other deaths probably tied to that, but that ties into the whole alien thing.
Because she was such a rock star in the sheets.
One of
Yeah,
the
like,
Kennedys,
all of a sudden
apparently.
when you're balls deep in Marilyn Monroe and you're just about to come, you'll say like, all kinds
aliens
of
are real.
Because she had had a meeting with one of the Kennedys, and she had seen things of national interest, security interests. And so that's kind of why that she kicked the can, because she was threatening because she couldn't get in contact with the Kennedys after this. They wouldn't allow her to be a part of any social gatherings anymore. She threatened to go public with the information that the Kennedys had given her, what she'd seen. And then like a week later, In the document, it states.
I just pictured JFK just like blowing loads in her and like.
Now, this is on the
Oh
FBI
my God, we've got the infrastructure is gonna collapse.
It wasn't the Kennedys, though. It wasn't the
That's what he
Kennedys that
gets
would
off
like.
on, giving away top
never
secret
the-
information.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh baby, ever.
What's the black? Oh shit. That's sorry, I missed it. Which one were we on? Celebrity deaths.
Celebrity.
Albert Elvis
Died on the shitter.
died on the shitter. No one questions it except for when you see him at the funeral there and he's behind the screen door. That's a fucking picture of it. You can't deny it, right? You go to Tweed,
You think he
Ontario.
escaped his own? He escaped his own life and just to get away from the fame.
Yeah, just
Is that
like
the theory, or is it like a CIA hit?
what was that movie called? Eddie and the Cruisers. You ever see Eddie and the Cruisers?
No.
No. You ever see Eddie and the Cruisers, Charters? You're old like me.
No. Reminds me of Megamind, though.
He like as a rock star fakes his own death, Eddie and the Cruisers, and then he goes and lives a life and then comes back. Jim Morrison they thought faked his death, right?
Yeah.
And who else like Paul McCartney they felt
Was fake.
they said he died,
He already died,
and then they replaced him with some guy that they had a contest where they had like a Paul McCartney lookalike or sound-alike guy.
Canadian guy,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, Canadian guy, right? And then they made him Paul McCartney, and that guy still is Paul McCartney to this
He
day.
is this Paul
Yeah.
McCartney. Yeah.
And that
Oh,
and that
wow.
Paul McCartney's the Paul McCartney, like because the
because
other
he
guy
wasn't
only
wearing shoes and
He's been Paul McCartney longer than the other Paul
Yeah.
McCartney.
yeah. So I don't care anymore. Even if that's true that the real Paul died, then I like the new Paul.
I
New
just
Paul's
think-
great. He's
Yeah.
selling out
That's
arenas.
bullshit.
He's selling out
Paul.
arenas. He
I saw
performs
new
like a
Paul.
bastard. man.
Workhorse.
Yeah, he's a really
Now,
he
like,
is.
is it because now that's an extreme move? Do you think it's because the Beatles are that big of a band, or do you think the Beatles are part of something bigger?
I
Like
just
part
read
of a culture change, like driven by possibly the one world government
Oh.
kind of force.
They
they
were
were just
contacted.
kind of
they were contacted by some
kind of a way to
government,
control the youth.
and they were gonna try and convince them to spread their military
Around.
industrial message
Yeah.
that could further their
We'll
military
bomb you,
agenda,
yeah.
and they didn't
We'll
go
bomb
for
you,
it.
yeah.
And they said,
And
We're
then
gonna-
they killed John Lennon. And then John Lennon. There's a conspiracy theory out there. This is a ridiculous one, that Stephen King killed John Lennon. And
What?
and there's a guy in the States who's like adamant. He's adamant. Go look him up on YouTube. Stephen King killed John Lennon. This fucking guy is. He's like convinced, and he brings signs about like Stephen King pulled the trigger and all this stuff. Like he's convinced. And the similarities that he kind of looks like the guy that killed Stephen King or like killed John Lennon.
How old was Stephen King?
When John Lennon died?
That's a good
he
question
was
to
in
ask.
college,
Oh, he'd be
wasn't
old enough to kill him.
Was
though.
he old enough to kill
Yeah,
him,
he
or was
was
he
in
like
college.
13?
That was like 81, right?
Yeah.
Stephen King would have been. He's older than me. He'd be like 10 years or 15 years older than me. So he'd be a grown up already.
Yeah. So he's
Yeah,
old.
he's-
Okay, I was gonna say
Yeah.
'cause if he was like 9.
No, I think he could
Just
kill. He
debunks
could
it.
kill. He could have killed John Lennon.
Prime killing
Psycho
age,
kid.
no?
Yeah, prime killing age. He could have fucking definitely.
That's a good
done
time.
it. You know Sirhan. You know the guy that killed RFK. You know Sirhan, that man so nice they named him twice. Sirhan. Murdered Robert Kennedy in the kitchen. Has no memory of it at all. No memory of it at all.
MK Ultra, there you go.
That's
That's
yeah,
one
the
of
they-
those.
Ultra program.
He claims they brainwashed him and programmed him to kill him. And he had and everybody that knew the guy says he was never had any inkling of anything to do with anything. He was just a dummy.
Yeah.
And then so that was perfect. They could just like hypnotize him and then make him like kill people because they can make people act like chickens and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
right? They made my brother pretend he was a male stripper one time, and he was swinging his dick around and everything like that at the Belgian Hall in Delhi when they had his hypnotist in. If they can do that to Paul, they could surely make him kill Robert Kennedy.
It's a big jump, but I buy it.
Yeah.
Paul was just having fun.
Yeah.
Oh, and the biggest one of all is Adolf Hitler. I watched Hunting Hitler. You ever watch Hunting Hitler?
Never seen that one.
I put it on my PVR to record it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was so into that theory that Hitler did not die in the bunker with Eva Braun. He they got two other corpses and burned them, And then they got on a fucking submarine and went to Argentina, where Hitler lived the rest of his days. In the
Painting.
mountains.
Off, a bunch of scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
There's a whole bunch of
Yeah, postmodern.
Yeah, they ended up the U.S. government was aware of this. They helped position where they went, and they actually put them in charge of small, like South American countries.
Yeah, that was the deal.
And
I'll
got
give you
things-
all of my scientists. You find me a place to hide.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't. Yeah, the theory was that Hitler like folded on all his boys,
It's
right?
his scientists
Like
that
Joseph
built our
Goebbels and all
rockets.
those dudes.
Yeah,
and
all
all the
sci-
scientist guys that
Oh,
created like
Goebbels.
AIDS.
half of them went to do the
Joseph Goebbels.
half of them went to do the Russian cosmonaut program,
Joseph Goebbels.
Yeah, America swept up
Joseph
the rest.
Mengele.
and America got the rest of them for
Yeah, that
NASA.
created
Yeah.
for the Manhattan Project,
Uh,
right?
All
Yeah,
of his
yeah.
scientists. Manhattan Project, the same scientist who built their frickin' the SAR bomb was part of some other rocket shit.
Man, did you ever
his
see
son was part of some
Did you ever see
other
the
stuff.
video of the guy who created the A bomb after
Yeah.
he did?
Robert
Yeah.
Oh, I felt really
Robert
bad,
Oppenheimer.
right?
And he's like quoting the Bhagavad Gita.
Robert Oppenheimer.
Terrifying.
I am become
Yeah,
death.
that's Robert Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
sad.
Just-
it's
I- what
cool.
does he say? He
He's
goes-
got a cool
he
story.
goes, I am become death.
He's got a cool story
destroyer of
because his wife
worlds.
was a communist,
No
and his
shit.
parents were communists. And like as soon as they had dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and what was the other one? Nagasaki. Thank you. He was completely ridiculed and completely blasted from the scientific community because after this point, this is when they found that leak within the Manhattan Project with that USSR scientist who had been leaking information to Russia. Why Russia was able to come up with the first deliverable 50 megaton atom bomb.
What? I got lost in that whole thing. To be honest with you,
Did
I
you?
lost my whole thing. I guess I just got completely lost. I have to spin the wheel, or I will not know what to do. My mind was blown
Beautiful,
somehow.
Kevin. That was good.
Lost civilization.
Oh, look! I've been spinning the fuck out of this wheel, eh? We haven't had one double yet.
Nice
Lost
job.
Civilizations. I know very little about these, to be honest with you.
There's the
this
lost
is-
city of Atlantis. There's number one we could talk
Yeah,
about.
that's a big
right?
one.
That's the big one.
That's the famous
That's
lost
the gold.
Famous
That's the
one.
gold daddy.
civilization.
But really, it's the entire Earth as a civilization was probably much more advanced
Yeah.
than we know.
Yeah,
or at least
12
just a
between 12
large section of it. Yeah, at a point where.
Well, Egypt.
between 12 and
Yeah.
14,000 years ago. Yeah.
yeah.
Older.
There's
they
a-
think.
the
They
time-
think older.
I'm a big fan. Have you guys ever heard of Graham Hancock?
Yeah,
Yes.
man.
I'm a big fan
That's
of
my
that
boy.
guy. Love Graham Hancock's research. He's not an archaeologist. He's like a investigative journalist that just goes after world mysteries. So stuff like this. So he believes there's like a lost civilization out there, and evidence of it is shown in the cultures around the world, ancient cultures like Egypt and the Amazon, and different cultures in the Middle East. And Mesopotamia, and
They have
like,
his handprint.
in like Thailand, and,
Wakanda.
and
Sumerian.
so he
Wakanda.
in Atlantis.
Fucking dork.
So Atlantis is the story. The person who brought the story of Atlantis to the world was Plato. He's the one who he spoke with people who spoke with the Egyptians. So it's like a third party, third person kind of story to him. But they were told they were these people came to them a certain time before this huge disaster that happened, this flood. This is like
It's
a flood.
always a flood.
There's always a flood. It's spoken in like religions around the world.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Every religion.
It starts
great
raining.
flood.
It's
Was
a
it-
big
was it
flood.
him, man?
Build an
People of
ark. Build
Atlantis-
an ark. They
These
say.
people of Atlantis, they had a very high civilization. They lived a wonderful life, but the Earth was struck with a massive flood, and their civilization was devastated. But survivors managed to spread around the world and kind of bring together like civilization again through like hunter and gatherer tribes. That's all that was left. That's all they could find. So they were the bringers of civilization at places in South America and all over the world, essentially.
What about El Dorado? Is that fucking fake, or am
El
I
Dorado,
thinking
is
of
that-
something?
is that like
Is
the
that the
City of
cartoon
Gold?
movie?
That's
Yeah.
an ancient one.
But that's like Mayan Aztec.
That's similar to
culture.
Pompeii. I mean, there was a time when
Yeah.
Pompeii was extinct, no fucking way that existed, and then bam.
Pink Floyd played there.
Exactly, and that's similar kind of a thing.
Atlantis-
There's another one in Turkey that they found that was
Right.
a buried civilization from around the same era as the Egyptian one.
Yeah. So the
There's a theory that there was a great event, right, like around
Yeah.
that time that changed everything.
Yeah, they're
A
finding
meteor,
scientists are
what?
just starting to understand this now that comet it struck the Earth. Well, fragments of a comet struck the Earth 12,000 years ago. It hit hit like the Arctic, and struck the Earth, and that's what caused these massive floods. Like, first it melted all the ice cap because it was receding ice age at the time. So there's huge ice caps all over the northern North America that just melted and just like caused this massive flood all across North America, all across Europe and Russia, and they're finding evidence.
and it was
of
like a
this now.
reset button for civilization.
Essentially, and it basically put them back into an ice age for another 1,000 years.
And whatever that civilization had before this massive flood, like
Yeah.
think of like what we have now. We have the internet and all this cool stuff, but maybe they had a way to move giant rocks and build pyramids.
Yeah, they
right?
had a whole completely different way of living, and like it's thought that they had a higher sense of consciousness through however they evolved and however some might think psychedelics.
their evolution would be at a completely different place than our evolution is
Yeah.
at now.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that just gets wiped out, and we're left with the traces of it.
The theory is that whatever aliens or people of space came and gave civilization, they gave them the ability to break those bounded frequency spectrums that we're limited to, those senses that we are limited to. They were able to open that for humankind, and that's how they were able to build all this fucking crazy shit.
So they had incredible understanding of astrology. So they understood what happened to them. It's told in stories and legends of all these ancient tribes all over the world. But it's told in like very metaphorical stories that's just left behind by these people that told them.
They didn't understand it really.
Yeah. So they had to interpret it in their own way, and they all come off very similar, like talking of this great destruction of fire in the sky. And so what these things like Egypt and like Göbekli Tepe, I probably said that wrong, in Turkey, and the Amazon is all this stuff that survivors of this lost civilization has been able to reach across and teach these cultures all about like astrology and like creating these pyramids and about like agriculture and like how to be a civilized culture. And with that, they left all these pyramids and things that all have like these very like crazy like measurements that like add up to specific numbers. And
the pyramids actually resonate at a certain frequency.
But they all lined up with astronomical things in the sky at certain periods of time.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the Egypt, like the Sphinx is looking directly at the sun in the spring solstice, and during that time, the reason it's a lion is because 12,000 years ago, the constellation of Leo was directly over, like the direct stare of the Sphinx. So they're marking a specific moment in time. And they're also marking with the 3 pyramids, the Orion's belt in the Milky Way.
Oh yeah.
Like perfectly aligned.
But why build a giant structure to
it's
represent what's in the sky?
Because they're trying to make something that's gonna last. Because they don't know if this civilization's gonna last.
Because they knew the
they can't
destruction
save it
was coming.
Yeah, they don't know what's gonna last, so they build these pyramids, something that's gonna last for thousands and thousands of years. And if we ever become smart enough again to understand these why they're there, it's like they're pointing to a moment in time when like a certain disaster happened, almost like a warning. Like it.
Do you think the same thing would be true with like Easter Island and things like that?
Oh yeah, like they just went across the world and just civilized everywhere they could,
And
try
is
to
it gonna
spread a message.
Humans are inherently loyal to some sort of a deity or a leader. Humans take to leadership
Yeah.
in every corner of the world.
Yeah.
So there has to have been some higher thing that they were worshiping.
Cheddars, what about you? What do you think about religion as far as conspiracy theories go? Like the message that you get in church, is it meant to control the masses?
Absolutely, for sure it is.
Is it based on actual events, or has it been fabricated to control them?
I think it's meant to calm down the chaos that wouldn't be there if it wasn't there. You know.
This is a
Across
cons-
the
What
globe.
religion are you talking about?
Any religion.
Any religion.
All religions.
All religion.
Because they're all the same. Because they all
Yeah.
come from the same place.
Yeah, and they all make the same story. There's a certain thing about Christianity where they say people think Jesus, some people think Jesus didn't exist at all, and the Romans just made him up. Tell the story of this magic guy so that people would want to behave so they could go to heaven.
Big
Right,
misconception.
right.
Constantine,
No,
Roman emperor, lifelong pagan. 312 AD is when he had formed officially the Council of Nicaea, which is basically all of the big heads of the Roman Empire, all of the religious people were trying to unify Rome, because at that time, little Jew boy Jesus had completely broken
Little
apart
Jew.
a lot of people, and they were all fighting. It was literally chaos. Rome was splitting into two, and everybody was killing everybody. Constantine wanted to unify Rome under one religion that would make Christianity acceptable, and so that's when they presided over what gospels and what they told of Jesus in the Bible. So there was an actual council that said, okay, we're going to put this gospel in it, we're going to put that gospel in it.
But they
and,
went,
and
they
they
put
only
the
chose
gospel of Mary Magdalene in it.
and they only chose the gospels that really made Jesus seem more divine than man. Now, this ties into the whole Da Vinci Code and that whole conspiracy, which totally should have been up there.
Well, it's kind of
So it's all based on they're not putting in any sort of gospels that make him seem man-like instead of divine, and
right.
that's.
But if you really look at, like, there's a book out there saying the teachings of Jesus or something like that, and they just say the words of Jesus that he said or whatever, where he never said he was a divine at all.
No.
And he just kind of said, like, the church, like the Jewish church is all bullshit. It's all like gold pillars and crap, and that's not really honoring a God. Like, they should use
They
that money to
only-
feed the poor. Stop giving the prostitutes and the tax collectors a hard time. They're just trying to do their job. And he may have married a prostitute. Or,
was only a
Mary
few-
Magdalene's not a prostitute
It was
at all.
only a few thousand years ago that they had found the lost, what they think to be his lost Gospels of Mary. It doesn't say Mary Magdalene,
right.
it's the
It just says,
Gospel of Mary.
Mary, right.
But there's no proof of this Mary Magdalene being a prostitute. She was a person who was with the group,
Yeah.
and everybody was of sin.
Right.
And so a woman of sin, what is a woman of sin in that time? Well, obviously she
A
was
whore.
probably
She's a whore.
Right. So,
she's a
but
whore.
that doesn't necessarily mean
She's
that
a
that's
damn
what she was.
floozy.
No, she could have just been
And
a
so the
flawed
whole
person.
story was because when Jesus was on the cross, they escaped to. In the Gospel of Mary, it says that she was the one who was to continue on the church, not Peter. And it's this whole thing of Peter being competitive with Mary. And one of the other disciples says that, why is she not able to contend with us when you were contending with her as an adversary? Who are you to judge her when the Savior deems her at our level?
Right, right.
And so
Yeah, whore.
when she escaped apparently to Egypt and had a daughter, and
Yeah.
took all this other information with her, and that's where all these other scrolls came about. And then
And they
this
said that their
whole-
kids became like Sir Lancelot.
there's a whole
and
continued bloodline.
and King Arthur and stuff like
That
that.
ties into
you
the Holy
fucking losing
Grail.
me now.
That ties into
Yeah.
the Holy Grail, because people think the Holy Grail is a cup, but it refers to a woman's womb, the
A
blood,
woomba?
the blood of Christ.
Oh, they act, like what do they say?
It's
like-
carried on in a woman. It's the same with
Oh.
the Last Supper.
Plant
the
deep.
He had
and
sex on the
The
period.
Last Supper's eating pussy.
Good sailor always sails in Red Sea.
But the-
That's a cool one. I love
think
that's
the,
probably.
the thing with lost civilizations is it's stupid to think that we're at like the highest point of civilization, like how man is right now.
Right, right.
there's obviously been something better than us because there's better things on this world than we can create. You can't create the fucking pyramids now.
No.
So the fact that they're there means that there's been a civilization that's better than we are.
But we
Yeah,
can,
but have you been to the Luxor in Vegas?
I was gonna say we can build Trump Tower. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, but they could do it quicker.
Yeah.
Probably with better drugs.
Yeah.
Better drugs is important.
You know what? I just wanted to. We only have one more thing to get to, and it's aliens. And I just wanted to sum up aliens to the show.
Yeah.
Is just to talk to you, Brandon MacIntosh.
Yeah.
Find out. You actually saw an alien one time. You had a UFO
I
encounter.
never saw an alien, but I saw a UFO before. I thought was a UFO.
Do you mind telling us the story?
It was I do this on stage too, but
It's okay.
it's
You
But
don't
I
have-
saw
you don't
it.
have to tell
This
them.
is a stage of sorts.
yeah, I saw it at a trailer park when I was like 13 years old, and it was I was with a girl. I was making out with a girl for like probably the first time, at least making out well
with tongue.
with tongues and like
Oh, nice.
she made the first move. It was
Grabs, were you
great.
grabbing boobs?
Grabbing boobs.
Over
It was
closed
good.
boob grab.
But no, I met her. She was dirty trailer trash because I'd camp with my buddy and his family, and we'd go to these places that were like half campground, half trailer park. You go to those places.
That's the good
The
stuff.
fuckles.
Yeah, and
Yeah, they're fuckles.
so we knew the trailer park kids were the best fucking people to hang out with.
They're like
or-
Catholic girls.
Oh, yeah, they're
They'll
fucked
just
up.
do whatever you want.
But like, yeah, so we hung out with this weird group of kids, and she was the oldest, and some kid actually told me that she'll give me a hand job at some point. Like, didn't say how, but like it can happen, kind of. Like that's a new concept to me too, and so I like really hung out with this girl all day. My friend knew the information too, so we were both kind of like around her all day. But I managed to like get to hang out with her in a park by herself, and her sister was playing on a playground. So I had her in a field by myself, just being all creepy, and I'm like holding her hand. In a field. And she started making out with me, and I could feel her. I could feel her like coming, her hands coming down my chest. Like, and I could definitely in my head, I'm like, yeah, the hand job's definitely coming. But then her sister started screaming and yelling her name, and like she was standing in the field. We got up, and she's like pointing up. We looked up, and there's like these 5 big lights just moving across the sky. It's like real quick, real silent. Like it could have been like meteorites, but they're too slow for that. And there's something to it. It was real weird, and we all just kind of forgot what we were doing at that time. We all just kind of left and walked away. And I just walked away from the hand job.
You
Just
lost
like-
your boner right away.
Oh yeah, I was excited though because I didn't expect to see that.
Yeah.
And like I went back and I told my friend and his whole family, and they're like, "Okay, Brandon." It's like because I was already obsessed with that shit by this point, and of course no one's gonna believe me. So
No, do you think that if you're more open to shit like that, then you'll just find it?
yeah,
Where
like
was
I'm not.
this?
I never knew what it was. This was like outside of Woodstock. This was like at some Wildwood conservation area.
Oh yeah.
Where's the nearest Canadian military installation? Up in
I don't
Trenton?
know.
Barrie area?
I don't know what it was.
Trenton?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
one
up-
in
it's up
Barrie,
north.
too.
But anyways, that is not saying it's aliens. And UFOs are not aliens. UFOs are unidentified flying objects.
All I know is that they cock blocked you pretty good.
Yeah, they did. I was pretty excited. And like what I tell people on stage is like it was just as good as a hand job. Or it's like seeing a UFO is like getting a hand job when you're that young. It's a life-changing experience. It ends as quickly as it starts, and no one's gonna believe you.
Well, thank you very much, guys, for coming in today. I wanted to just thank. This is a long show, so we
was.
thank you all for going long. And we couldn't even get to everything because there's so many conspiracies. If you'd like to give us a piece of feedback, you know how to do it. lifeinthedutchhall@gmail.com and all the other social media things. Other than that, tell a friend. Watch or listen to our show. Thank you for everyone that's contributed. Until next week, we will see you, NT. See you next Thursday.
Hey. I had 2 piss breaks in that one.
I had one. Yeah, it was a long one.
That's how I knew it was long. I'm like, usually I have one.